So, oh boy, we have our first big nerf. Alright, so how's everyone enjoying Path of Exile 2? We got some brand new updates straight from the dev team. They just informed us about the things they were looking into fixing and addressing with the game. And so far, user reviews are looking really good, despite that there's a portion of the community that are struggling with the game and are finding it too difficult. In fact, this right here is currently the trending post out on the Path of Exile 2 subreddit. And then again, there are players that are outright enjoying the hell out of this game, but they're struggling to find loot. And the big question is, should there be some sort of phasing when rolling? And will we ever be able to hot swap between mouse and keyboard and controller on the fly? We have some responses about that one. And yes, I'm going over your top comments, so look out for that later in the video. So yes, I know a lot of you guys are probably curious about that nerf. Here is the official statement right here. Well, we finally hit that point where a skill with unacceptable balance has been discovered. Supercharged Slam is unfortunately dealing far too much damage than what's intended, given the short channel window required to hit maximum stages. We are imminently going to be reducing its damage as much as we are trying to avoid nerfing skills and builds. It is better to do this early before it feels obligatory to use this skill. It is important that a wide variety of skills feel viable and fun to play, and it simply diminishes all other abilities when one is clearly outshining the others like this. We will be starting with a heavy damage reduction on the ability in the next hotfix, which should be out within the hour. At a later time, we will be making further adjustments to how long it takes to build up charges, as it is far too quick at the moment. So I'm sure that's going to be ruffling some feathers. Let me know how you guys are feeling about it. But so far, I'm really enjoying my mercenary. But yeah, here comes some of the nerfs. We'll see how the community receives this one. All right, then I say we hop into the news. Starting out here, Path of Exile 2 dev details all the high priority issues you need to be aware of, which ultimately leads us to this official post right here about known issues on PC. First of all, it says these Path of Exile 2 early access problems are currently being investigated. We'll be trying to get them fixed as soon as we can, so expect this in the first hotfix. It says high priority problems, delayed emails for verification, unlock codes, password resets, etc. In-game shop not showing point balance, cannot purchase microtransactions, endless loading screens, sometimes affecting players while in a party. And there is no ETA exactly when we would be expecting this brand new patch, but knowing Grinding Gear Games, I would think that would be sooner than later. But I promise to keep you guys updated as to when that would be releasing, so stay tuned. And I'm sure that's just a fraction of the things they're looking into, as they're probably digging into all the feedback as well. As we get further into this video, I did want to note something extremely important, that this is called early access for a reason. Expect changes. But even still, I'm just having an absolute blast so far. But there's also a really strange bug happening in early access, and they are going to be addressing it. Check out the headlines. It says Path of Exile 2 dev says it's fixing a bug that's parting up players with randoms, but for now, consider it a feature to enhance your social experience. A little bit of a joke there, but I'm sure they're going to iron that out as we get through early access. But hey, it's a way to make new friends. And this has definitely not been a perfect launch, but let me tell you what, this game has already been insanely successful. Check it out. Path of Exile 2 is already one of the top 20 most played games in Steam's history, even though it's in early access and all the servers have been on fire. Now, what will this game do when it enters free to play? I mean, take a look at this insanity right here. We have over 500,000 players on right now simultaneously on Steam alone. If Grinding Gear Games can just hone in on the problems that early access presents and properly fix them based on feedback from the community, this game is going to be immensely successful in the long term. But then again, they also have to be careful on what feedback they actually take here, because yes, you don't want to listen to absolutely everything the community is saying. I've actually seen that be quite detrimental to other games in the past. So I'm curious to see what Grinding Gear does in terms of sticking to what they want to do versus making adjustments based on what the community says. This is going to be an interesting balancing act here. And holy crap, let me tell you what, the community has been very vocal recently. Overall, it's been pretty positive, until of course you stumble upon something like this right here. It says, it's like Ruthless mode in Path of Exile 1 to some extent. If you like that, you'll love this. Also some Souls-like design philosophy, lots of rolling, bosses have more distinct, dangerous attack patterns, running past trash mobs is more efficient than killing them unless you need to level up. Blue and rare mobs drop nothing usually. Combat in general is tedious. I got maybe 3 rare items in 9 hours of playtime, none of them good. Maybe another 9 hours I can afford a decent item from a vendor. Skill tree is like a stripped down version of the Path of Exile 1 tree. So yeah, shots fired right there. But let me know if you guys agree with any of that or not. And the discussion definitely continued in this thread right here. And I feel like the dev team tried their best to let players know exactly what to expect from this one, that this was not like Path of Exile 1 exactly. In fact, This right here is a great way of summarizing. It says they've been telegraphing this for years. Path of Exile 2 is not meant for Path of Exile 1 League enjoyers. Some folks are going to have a hard time with that. And there's definitely a portion of the community that would be labeled hardcore veterans of Path of Exile 1. And I think it's just going to take a little bit of time to get used to this new Path of Exile. But at the same time, I say give it time. I think it's going to be very interesting because you're going to be seeing players appreciate the differences between the two of these games. And honestly, I think it was smart for the Path of Exile team to do something new here and fresh because, you know, you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Innovating requires some risk. But a lot of players are indicating they're willing to give over a big chunk of their life to Path of Exile 2. As you can see right here, things to do before playing Path of Exile 2. Go grocery shopping, block friend and family from texting and phoning you, take your weekly shower, make sure you have enough time for your 16-hour-long sessions 1,000 plus hours later, and it will be worth it. And I've also been hearing that this is by far one of the best ARPGs ever made, if not the best ARPG ever made. However, this is early access, and for the players that are enjoying it, they're also kind of running into problems as well. With the big one being the lack of loot. As you can see right here, if you don't need a loot filter, if you never find any loot. And my problem with giving an opinion on this one right now is that no one has really entered into the end game, and I'm wondering if they've really stacked up a lot of the loot and reserved it for the end game. I think only time will tell, but so far in the early game, players are having difficulty with the loot. And also just with some of the skills, some players feel like the beginning early skills are a little bit rough and underwhelming, and it makes things a little bit too difficult. Yeah, so you could definitely tell there was some influence here from Elden Ring and the Souls franchise, definitely. But I also have to take the time out to ask, how are you guys enjoying the early portion of the game, especially in terms of difficulty? Do you think it's fine where it is? Do you think that they should just keep it as is and leave it alone? Or do you think they should make adjustments? And on the subject of loot, it seems like there's one item that's just dropping over and over again, and that is flasks. It says rerunning mini bosses hoping for currency or good drops, and instead I keep getting flasks like I'm gonna be opening a water bottle business. And the response is here, for real, all these flasks, but only 2 flask slots. And we have, yeah, we said this on Discord, why the hell are flasks dropping like currency when you only need an upgrade every 10 or so levels? Perhaps this all has something to do with the fact that this game is in early access. I'm just going to reiterate that again. I do think that things will be adjusted and changed. And when you get into this type of feedback, a lot of the community begins to worry, especially for those that are actually enjoying the game in its current state. Check it out. I love that the game has actual challenge. Please don't let Reddit opinion ruin it. Scroll down here. It says, it feels like loading up Diablo 2 for the first time all those years ago. Community opinion turned Diablo 4 from something unique, albeit flawed, into Diablo 3.5, where it basically played itself and you could play it in your sleep. Grinding Gear Games, please don't let Reddit turn Path of Exile 2 into another loot pinata zoom fest. I like the lower drop chance as it feels like my gear matters. Fighting enemies actually feels difficult, and using skill combinations rather than spamming one skill is rewarding. And I think it's smart for Grinding Gear Games to take their time on making immediate adjustments and let this be kind of like a slow burn and see how the community feels about this. Once they finally start getting into the latter half of the game. I think that's super important. But we also have a response here, kind of like a counter argument to this. It says, I love the different pacing and greater challenge, but at low levels, when you can't even really make a build yet or get decent gear, some bosses do seem incredibly overtuned. Basically, everything is just dodge roll, get 1 to 2 hits in, dodge roll, get 1 to 2 hits in, repeat 50 times. Also, don't get hit twice in a roll because you are probably going to die. I really hope Grinding Your Game sees the importance in making the early game more accessible because they have not a so good history with that in Path of Exile 1. Can I just say, it sounds like a lot of you guys are playing Warrior, so I find it interesting. I'm seeing posts about some players regretting playing Warrior, by the way, and wishing they had played Witch. Let me know if you're in that boat or something, because I am playing Mercenary, and it feels like my experience has been somewhat different from some of the feedback from those of you guys playing like predominantly melee-centric characters. But can we take a moment to talk about dodge roll? This has been a big discussion. In fact, I've seen many discussions through Reddit, the Steam forums, and elsewhere about this one. Check out this post right here. Dodge roll should give phasing. As per title, does anyone feel like the main danger of the enemies is the fact they can block you from pathing In specific zones, a single monster can completely block your path until you clear it. It feels really awkward. You cannot really escape once you are blocked by the enemies, and it makes you forced to play a lot slower to deal with this. It doesn't feel particularly difficult to play slower, but rather just a bit more tedious than needs to be. The game itself is absolutely gorgeous. So hey, he threw in a compliment there. Yeah, it can be very, very annoying, but currently the only advice that I can give is to kind of combo abilities together to really produce area of effect damage. It's the way out of those situations. I feel like the game is built this way on purpose to encourage you to use builds that have some sort of combo that you can actually detonate and then cause massive amounts of damage. But I thought for sure this next one was just going to be in the game. Check it out. It says, please let us hot swap between controller and mouse in Path of Exile 2. It goes on to say this right here, disclaimer, I know this is early access, that's why I'm writing this to get attention. Maybe other people feel the same way I did. And we have, as someone who shouldn't really play ARPGs with the mouse because of health reasons, I love the controller support. What I don't like is that we are soft locked into it. I like playing with the controller, however, I hate that I have to use the controller for inventory management and skill point distribution, and etc. I mean, the mouse is even visible and you can hover things to read them, but the left and right click doesn't do anything. At least let us move items with it, etc. I hate to say this, but Diablo 4 did this fantastically. Any chance that we get a similar hot swap feature sooner or later? And as I recall, the game director did say this right here. Pretty sure in an interview, Jonathan Rogers said this was coming for the purpose of inventory and menu navigation. Yeah, I was looking for this option as well because I was messing around with controller, but you know what? I am sticking with WASD for now until they add that option perhaps later in. But then again, I'm really still enjoying the hell out of WASD. Let me know which one you guys are going with, point and click, controller, or WASD. And now it's time to go over your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. So let's do this. See what you guys had to say from my most recent Path of Exile 2 video. Check it out. We have Melee Blood Mage sounds spicy. Benefits from all the health, armor, and leech stacking. Yeah, and when I first opened up the menu to Path of Exile 2, I saw all the classes laid out before me, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to do? But I stuck to my guns. I went for Mercenary because I enjoyed him so much. And guys, I'm still having a blast with Mercenary. And if you guys are on the fence about Mercenary, trust me, you're going to want to give him a try eventually. And the next dude was just like me. Check it out here. Yeah, I'm stuck between Mercenary and Witch minion build. I absolutely loved Necromancer in Diablo 4. It was by far my go-to. So I think after Mercenary, I will rotate over to the Witch. And you guys were torn with what class to go with. Again, I said I'd go for the Witch for Path of Exile 2 due to liking the minions in Path of Exile 1, but looking at the Monk and Mercenary got me second guessing it. I had the chance to play Monk a little bit at the event. I did like him, but he felt a little bit slower for me. But then again, his abilities look really, really cool, and that is yet another class I do eventually want to check out. And then we have Gamers Guild who says, I'm so glad you are covering this game. And I'm trying my best here. We'll see how it goes. I always like experimenting with covering different games on the channel. It makes it also a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm also covering Stalker 2. I've done an Indiana Jones and the Great Circle video, by the way. If you missed out on that, dude, check it out. It is surprising. Like, this game has surprised a lot of people, and for a reason. It's probably one of the more unique games released this year. I'm still covering Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 because that is also receiving some updates and content drops on December 10th. But yeah, look out for more news about all these things, including Path of Exile 2. Loving my time with this one. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.